Like, it's a ridiculous piece of hardware, and obviously not scalable. But we did assume that the PlayStation 3 would kind of die like this. The PlayStation 2 had died like slowly and kind of, but it just died like this, and PlayStation 4 replaced it. So that was like overnight almost, and that was just something that no specialist predicted. Like all the tech forecasters, etc., they didn't see that coming. That's one. Two, it's fine. It's a crafting program book. So the PS3, and this is not necessarily in prioritization. Two is definitely the just write a couple notes. The engine itself. The way we did it, we didn't use Unreal Engine properly. So we had all these visions and ideas that we wanted to do, and we didn't have the patience to wait for it because we were running out of time also on the PlayStation 3. So we started implementing things like a socket system and a huge terrain generator and all kinds of things that we implemented ourselves in-house, and we kind of ruined the Engine 4, the Unreal Engine 3. So our version was probably 3.4 something when we kind of branched out of being able to take in new upgrades from Unreal. So we were basically stuck in time in a fairly early Unreal Engine, building these things, and then just as we were building them, Aptic would show up like, okay, Mega Terrain in 3.5, and vehicle handling in 3.6, and things that we were doing worse than they were doing before they were doing them. So that's a lesson that we've applied. We're using unmodified Unreal Engine 4 as much as possible. That's a big lesson in that. A PS3 lesson is to be on PC. So there's a lesson everywhere, unmodified. The gameplay itself, I would say that the frame rate was kind of the victim of all these visions and systems. To be able to talk to Eve, we had to integrate Python into the stack, which took like a piece of memory and a piece of CPU to run. We were also talking to backend live, which is the thing they talked about before. People allowing players to go in and customize their fits mid-game meant you had to literally have a pipe for every player into a SQL database.
Yeah, I remember that menu loaded kind of slow.
Yeah, it loaded slow, and then and everyone's out, and you're doing UI stuff. This is just taking like power from to render or do calculations. So that's one lesson. So the lesson is don't allow players to do anything in game. You send the package in and you receive the package out that says this guy won, he did this and this. Okay, we're going to calculate that after the battle. For example, the extended loading time or the wait time when you're waiting for the end of mission screen. That's basically those calculations happened on the server itself because we didn't pipe the data into a separate database. We're calculating all the SP and everything on the server because it was fresh in memory, like you knew who had killed whom, etc. So that meant that we had to it was not easy for us to, for example, change. Yeah, I'll just remember you. SP calculations, they had to be done on the server, so you'd have to apply like a server upgrade or update to change, like now kills give you 1.5 points of XP or skill points. So that's also a lesson. So we're doing no calculations, and we're sending a package in and receiving a package out. So we're trying to apply these things. Then I would just say that the team, both having a split team, we're actually doing a split team now, but having 12 hours or 8 hours time zone difference, and China versus Iceland is obviously like a pretty crazy combination. We had difficulties in just communication, code development, working in the same branch, a lot of compounded things that we've tried to to figure out, but it's even difficult in the same time zone with Nottingham. So that's something that's always going to be difficult. It would be difficult even if we had the people next to us in the it's not always like fun and games in the Eve team either. So that's a few. I'll let that.
I guess my one last question: do you foresee any unique problems ahead to Nova that Dust didn't have, or is there anything you're worried about moving forward, or something you're uncertain about?
The infamous hindsight crystal ball question.
Yeah. I'm trying
Is
to.
there something we don't know of now?
I think the vision of Dust may become like almost like might become an anchor to this game, because people have these lofty expectations. We're not migrating. We're not copying it. We're trying to reinvent it properly. So people seeing like we had 18 weapons in Dust, and now we have 6. So like people are like, what? You spent all this time and you still have less of these things. So that might be a problem, and I'm seeing it now in the Reddit and YouTube, etc. Like kind of like it's even less than Dust. Yes, it was 3 years live plus 5 years of development. So it's a completely different. It's a different game and way more investment overall in Dust than year to date today on Dust. So that's something that I hope people just kind of deal with.
No, I'm never going to delete the Shigeru's crash site wallpaper on my PS3.
It's fond memories for sure.
Kind of two questions. First, have you roadmapped in controller support? And second, what happened to our orbital bombardment ammunition trading?
Can't you
that interaction?
Can't you what's the reverse of inject? Extract their skills and sell them. Yeah. No promises on that. What's the first question? Like the control support? We're just desperately trying to keep focus. That's why we're PC mouse keyboard. I think people are figuring it out already with Steam controllers. Yes, over time, but not at launch. All right, so many. You?
A lot of the people who play Dust and a lot of the people who are probably going to come over to Nova are limited time frame people. I'm a truck driver. I'll have weeks where I've got 70, 80, 90-hour weeks. Nurses, doctors, a lot of other people have that. Is there going to be any kind of mechanic in place so that we're not hopelessly behind that no-lifer who puts in 20 hours a day and shoots us from half the map across?
So I share that, like, yes, some of us have children and families, etc. So we will definitely, so we have already in the missions and contract system ways to stop people from going too fast, for sure. Not in a kind of like a Destiny level cap way, but we kind of want to make sure that there's an optimal progression that you can kind of keep up with. Obviously, some kind of diminishing returns curve. That's what the best example is. And I think we usually use Hearthstone as the reference for this. So play 3 battles, and then you get like a bunch of XP. And you can keep playing battles, but then you get way less XP over time. So theoretically, yes, you can play 24 hours, but you'd still almost gain less than just the 3, the first 3 XP bubbles or whatever you call them in Hearthstone.
So 3 to progress, and the rest of it's for fun, profit, and tears.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, go ahead.
On the same sort of avenue as that, I played not too much of Dust, mostly because I had a very small TV and I didn't have an HDMI port, so it looked very terrible anyway. But my experience with, like, in Dust, with the low skill point queue, where that was where if you didn't have as much skill points, you got put into a smaller queue, was it was full of a lot of people who made free accounts and then loaded them with faction gear, so there are these unkillable juggernauts. Is there going to be that same sort of disparity between the service weapons and the weapons that you unlock later on in the game, where you'll have higher level players who have way better access to gear than the new players?
game going to be shipping with trading between Nova players?
So first, there's no trading in the beginning, so you can't do that. So we actually that phenomenon was unbelievable. The biomass. If you don't know what it was, people would biomass like one of their three every 24 hours. So to have a new fresh guy every 24 hours. So they would go and destroy noobs until they get ejected from the new player academy, and then they'd go biomass that guy, and he'd be unbiomassed in 48 hours, and then the people did this for months and like every day. I
remember my one match. It was a heavy assault guy with all faction gear, standing on top of a building right outside of our spawn. At the end of the match with 30 kills and 2 deaths.
I think we are aware of this problem, painfully. So I haven't thought about it specifically, but we're basically just trying to make sure that PvP is properly matchmade, not on skill points. Skill points was really a kind of a band-aid, a bad band-aid, obviously. But the three characters also create this problem because you could hide KDR behind the wrong character, really. So we'll only have one character per account, so you won't have that problem. You'll obviously have problems where people just create Google Player 74 and create multiple Gmails every day.
Yeah.
I don't know that there's a way to stop that in any game, League or Hearthstone or anywhere.
But I feel like what kind of compounded that was the fact that not only you had these better players who were in low skill points, but they also had access to way better gear.
Yeah, I think
that access kind of will help a lot more.
Yes, we will be very careful on between account trading and within account trading. So it's not something that is designed at the moment, but it's something that we'll keep in mind definitely before we launch any such system. We'd be trying to, like, exploits and these kinds of things are the things to keep an eye out.
First question, scalability. So Dust had these massive maps, and sometimes they kind of work against you if you didn't have a vehicle or anything, but it looks like from what we've seen of Nova, they're kind of more close quarters. Will we see the bigger battles, maybe more than 16 on 6, or was it 16?
16v16.
Okay, so that's pretty. Will we see the maps? We haven't seen a full map yet, at least.
So we're really just balancing them for proper 16v16. So
Okay.
we're not trying to make a bigger experience for less. Like, we're not trying to make bigger levels than it makes for a good experience.
Okay.
We are experimenting with different levels for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, personally, it'd be cool to go back to planets at some point. But I feel, and we all feel, that we own space, CCP owns space. We definitely don't own planets in the same way. Like Titanfall, Battlefield, they do better planets and trees than we do. So we have to kind of be where we are and have an advantage. So that's kind of where that's coming from. But we can go to asteroids or mining outposts or floating some kind of level above a plasma planet, or like those kinds of things, something crazy. And I'm a subscriber to Eve Porn, which is it's fantastic, and I like that is where we can win. I think it's completely unique. Yes.
So speaking to the sweet spot 16, are you looking at like higher level commander controls, so like ordering your fleets or things around? Like, do you have a name structure for these units that you can control, or is that something you're exploring?
So I have
Like the squad system?
Yeah, like a squad system.
So what we talked about, I can't remember if I talked to you about it, was to have a mini squad of squad leaders that could talk. That was kind of like a thing where if you would do a 16v16 platoon, it would actually not be 16 players, it would be squads, and someone could invite other squads. So they ultimately make a four-squad team, and those would be on a separate voice over IP channel that they could talk to with a different button or something. So we have communication.
16 is called a platoon.
Yeah, it's kind of just a random
Okay.
name. Yeah. So we had squads, what do you call it, fire team squads and platoons. Like that's classical terms. We're just squads, just squads.
Okay.
And in-game comms, it'll all be in-game. So is that a thing?
Yeah, it's integrated. We have our own solution that we will screen.
Okay.
Press to play is working, I think, in the build. Presently, I think. All right. You had a question before. You put your hand down.
Monetization. Is it? I heard nothing about EA. How do you pay yourself?
What was the question?
Yeah.
It's a big controversial
big
topic
Pandora's box.
with things like Battlefront 2. I mean,
Yeah.
you got games like Warframe that pulled off amazing with the.
Kind of a good way to say you're doing a great hit because you have the right ammunition. Like there's a lot of things you have to telegraph to the player, which we didn't really solve. Like so, it's something we support technically, but it's also something that yes, you're doing more damage, but you don't really know why, and the player doesn't also that being hit doesn't really know why either.
Right. Maybe you could introduce a small tutorial before people jump into the action and lay it out and say, shields are weak to this, armor's weak to this.
Yeah, but the problem is you don't know why you died instantly when someone had the right ammunition against you. It's just like it just happens. So
You took a bullet to the brain.
Do you have a combat log that displays to user possibly color information? You have a colors or
So we won't see the same like when it's talking about armor and shield.
color code and health bar.
We won't see that same like. You guys, I know there's no fitting thing, but we won't see the same. This is that Kadari suit. You're going to use shield with it, and we will see that.
yeah.
Okay.
That's so you when you get the default fitting or the loadout, that has an inspection mode with all the information. Then once you have upgraded to a proper level, you can start changing it. So it's basically like locked until you reach a certain level. This is and we're the thing is about fitting also we're using default. So we put default, like in Eve terms, there's a default thing in every slot, and that's zeroed. Like that's the zero state of the suit. Then anything you put on top is deducted by from PG. So basically, you can always just remove everything, and now you have your old default. Like you haven't ruined it. So there's always like this way back. Same thing with something that is lost after battle. You put it on, it's disappeared. Now you have your own suit. Like no worries. That's kind of, we went into a lot of thinking like invalid fits or running out of a single thing and replenishing all of there's all kinds of user experience things that we tried to think about when we did this consumable per battle system. Yes.
Is there going to be more than one sort of free, like your one more than one form of service drop suit? Like you can have a shield service drop suit where you have a limited shield launcher, an armor service drop suit.
That would be through firmware. Like
So
that's how you create
firmware
variants.
determines that?
Yeah. That would basically say, okay, you have your standard suit that really has no bonuses, and then you get a Calakiota firmware, which is plus 20% shields. Like that.
And that'll be something you have unlimited number of those.
No, that would be a rig-like structure where you put it in and.
Well, that's what I was asking. If there was different types of free drop suits, so you're not specifically restricted to having only this type of gameplay because you're a 4.
Yes.
Are there multiple sentinels?
Yeah.
So
Yes,
that
yes,
like he can put a Calakiota in one
Yep.
and a Ladai in
Yes.
another.
Yeah. Yes. You basically unlock it and then you create a loadout or a copy of that to mess around with. You always have the basic one to go back to. You theoretically could have all the rangers or the logistics guys like in your battle kit, like all the same or different suits or different fittings. Yes.
So follow up to that, is there a limited number of workloads slots that you have available to you? If you want like 3 sentinels, but you can't create more beyond that or something?
No. So the idea is that you can build your catalog.
Okay.
And forever, but you have to select a subset. That's the deck building part before you go into the pregame and into battle. So from that subset, you'll be able to use in that battle. So maybe if you want to be safe, you bring one of each, or like a sniper, or or you may be like an infantry specialist, and you only have those kinds of, just with, this is a guy with shotgun, this is a grenade, this is a guy like that kind of fitting. But that's the strategy part of the game. Yes.
Logistics gameplay. On the current alpha build, I think the Logi one is the one that has the ammo magic field.
It's actually a typo. Like, not that is a sentinel. The logistics guy is a sentinel.
Oh, okay. Well, speaking of logistics gameplay in general, how is that going to work for general matchmaking? Because armor and shield are two entirely different things you need. Are Logi guys just going to have to bring an armor and a shield and kind of guess what everybody else is running? Or is there going to be more direction or
from a healing perspective, or like
yeah, from a healing perspective.
So you're healing shield versus healing armor.
Yeah.
We're not like, we don't intend for the logistics to be a healer like in the MMO kind of rock paper scissors systems. It becomes like a chore to be like, you need to be the healer. Like we had the same thing with scanners. Like someone just need to be a scanner and turn. Like we don't want to force people into these kind of like unique situations where this is just what we have to have in the game. So logistics, we're good. Healing is more a passive activity rather than an active one. As far as I can see, logistics have the one that we're designing at the moment has way more interesting gameplay in mind. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm supposed to call the shots. Yes, you're front.
Yeah, just wanted to say, we're going to get some of your Google Sheets to follow
Of course.
details.
Of course.
I love that bit, just looking back and seeing what you're working on.
Yes, we'll figure out the best way. Apparently Trello isn't the best way, so someone told me, so we'll figure that out. Obviously we could have just done the same thing with Google Docs, a line for an idea and votes or whatever, like that kind of stuff, but I intend to run it exactly the way we ran Dust. Yes?
I was going to ask, you said you were going to ship Project Nova as a competitive FPS, but is there going to be an option for like custom game where there's no rewards, no losses? I can invite as many people I want from my friends list or something. Even possibility of like match mutators, lower gravity, big heads, or other stuff that we've usually seen like under a tournament in the past.
It's out of scope for us as a small team. Okay. To me, it's like a corporation headquarter add-on. Like, if you think about, like, you own a corporation, you can invite players into that thing, but that's a activity that you have to. It's not something we just offer. Like, it doesn't fit the IP either. Like, it's weird to have a slice of gameplay where it doesn't affect the universe. Like, in that sense.
Right.
Yes.
I guess I got several things, but I've been playing these since 2003. Valkyrie, all that stuff. First thing is, my major concern about this is what happened with Dust and Valkyrie was community building. Those both lacked community building. The problem was exacerbated by the platform, which you already pointed out.
Mm-hmm.
But like Dust in the initial stages, voice comms were cracked. And because they never really got fully fixed, even halfway through the game. Like the problem you were talking about where, hey, why did I get one-shotted, because someone used an EMP on me and I only had shields. You can, as a player talking to another player, a more knowledgeable player, we can explain that to each other, and we can work around a lot of your bugs, but we can't do it if there's no way to communicate.
Yep.
So, that's why I'm really worried about community building. The other thing is when you limit match sizes to 4-on-4, 6-on-6, if that becomes the mainstay of the game, then I only need my 3 other friends, and why do we need a corporation? We can just kick ass on everybody, just us against the world, and then eventually you're going to have the ultimate players
form groups with each other, and they're going to be at the top of the leaderboards all the time, and then nobody else is going to have an interest in PvP. They're going to do PvE, and then you lose out on the community building. I heard you mention corporations. I haven't really seen anything in the presentations or anything that really makes corporations seem like it's a useful item in the game yet. Until that happens, again, you're going to lose out on community building. The other thing that's I'm in PL, and I know when Dust was out, the reason PL never got involved with Dust is back then it was API, I forget what they call it now. You never implemented API for Dust, so we can't rule out spies because we can't check their background. So there's no way we were going to have a Dust, community in our alliance because we can't screen out spies now. So you will. I don't know if you've got anything planned for that, but at least going forward, you need to have room to implement such a thing. So that way, when it comes time to link Eve with, the one universe, one war thing, when they link, you've got to have a way for people to cross-check each other from each side.
Yep.
And then, what was the last thing? There was one more thing. But it'll come back.
It'll come to you. Yes, some of these are very specific, things that I've never thought about, like checking spies in a corporation, for one. Voice comms are, like I said, integrated voice over IP in the beginning.
Along with the voice comms. So one of the problems I ran into in Dust was you had a way to do text to, friends or chats within the corporation or alliance or whatever, but if they were already in a match, they're pretty much ignoring that. They come out of a match, they roll immediately into the next match. There's no way for you to get their attention and join their squad. And so you sit there waiting for 10, 20 minutes per match, waiting for them to get out of the match, and then there's no guarantee that they're gonna, contact you after the match because they run off and get a soda break or whatever, and then you're just sitting there wasting a lot of time for people that have limited time. And so you want to have a mechanism where communication is better resolved, I guess. Both text and voice, whether it's in or out of game.
Yep, absolutely. I have no further comment, Your Honor.
Still trying to remember this.
Darth, I think you were.
How are you going to incentivize people to play both PvE and PvP?
We don't want to force anyone to do what they don't want to do. We want both to be meaningful. And I think the best way to describe it, Oscar says this, is the optimal way to progress is to play both. Like that's the best way to do it because then you get one resource or something from PvE and you get more of it from PvE, less of it in PvP, and vice versa. So you could get more loyalty from doing PvP and more ISK from doing PvE, like in that sense. You should be able to play only exclusively one of them if you want to. If you don't like PvE, you don't have to play PvE, and vice versa. That's the question. But the PvE is supposed to, it kind of represents the non-PvP elements of EVE in that sense. So we want it to be the kind of activity that is, you can choose your engagement. That's something that, like, you can choose your, I know I can win easy in 10 minutes, but I know I need everyone, like my best friends, to help me win hard on a Friday night. Like, that's the difference, like raiding versus casual. So we want to be able to pick and choose. This also fits very well into what we did in the survey for you players, is we asked, do you play FPS? FPS is during your sessions. And like, I can't remember, like a huge amount of people play both games at the same time. You're just alt tabbing into a game. You're mining, you're waiting, you're jumping, something. So we really actually, like one of the, it's not the point of the game, but we wanted to be able to be that kind of EVE-like activity when you're playing EVE. And then ultimately, I use the word, the number 70%, but 70% of players do either mining or ratting or mission running to get to grind currency. And we see PvE as the way to casually grind currency if you want to do that. Maybe loot or materials, etc.
Explore blended game modes like PvP, like we have like a small.
They're very interested in it.
Like a small 14 fire team incursion just drops in mid-match when you're shooting Sancha in the face and now you have to deal with both.
Yes. Yeah, it's there for the taking. There's plenty of stuff like that. Another game mode that I can't get out of my head is we're going to do it. There's no way we won't. Be a Sancha captain during the battle. So you come in like maybe only in hard or something, but then you have an enemy player in their midst who knows what you're doing, can anticipate the charge points, etc. That is way better to increase difficulty than to create like a new PV enemy or something like that. That creates like brand new battle every time. Maybe someone specializes in it. Maybe it's a random chance you get offered when you're playing. Do you want to do this right now, right here, right now? And you're like, yeah, hell yeah. And maybe it's one life. Like all kinds of cool things that we do with asymmetrical PvE.
Explain that again.
So, for example, if you're playing, you're playing hard with your 3 buddies, and all of a sudden there's an enemy player with the Sancha playing on the Sancha team.
Like a surprise.
Yeah, like a surprise. Yeah. And he is going to be a huge kind of power increase or change in tactics for the Sancha, because they can, let's say, follow the tank or go capture charge points or ruin, like be annoying or nuisance or be just a great sniper, just kill, like, so it becomes like a small secondary objective within the battle. That's an idea we've been tossing around.
You mentioned you love Battlefield, which of course I'm a huge Battlefield fan myself, and in Battlefield there's a lot of aerial fighting as well. And I know Valkyrie was a project that has since been ceased, but has there been any roadmap of including aerial or even dogfighting situations in Nova at all, between either ships, possibly even firing off of a breach pod from one battleship to another, anything aerial, anything
on the ground
fighting combat?
We want to explore moving the battlefield from one place to another. That kind of you can recreate the feeling like flying through space again, like that's a cool thing to do. So that's something that we're exploring. We're not exploring any vehicular combat at all.
So, kind of going off that, based on the physics we're seeing in the alpha, it's supposed to be 0G environment. So is the running and jumping going to be any major changes in that from alpha to beta to live that you see, or are we generally going that fast and jumping that high?
That is something that I'm personally.
Because it feels weird at the moment because the enemies just go limp and then they drift off, and that looks cool. That it honestly reminds me of Mass Effect, how they would do outside. They do a lot of, they do a couple levels that are outside ships, and it's that feeling is like it. But my character always feels like they're just on 1G environment.
Yeah, which is exactly what the design is, because the narrative is that everyone's trained for a certain G, like planets like these war clones are coming from planets, so they would be best at that situation. So the narrative is that they have a gravity generator in their suit, which is basically correlated or adapted to simulate that 1G. So I have personally no interest in Dead Space-like mechanics or Call of Duty Infinite Warfare tilting. It's just a gimmick to me, so it's not something that we want.
What about just certain parts of the map, for example?
We can do that, yes. Yeah, we can do stuff like, and it kind of like Yeah, it's just it's a volume, like it's super easy in Unreal Engine.
Yeah, that's it.
On the subject of the gravity, I noticed when we were playing the assault class, they have bullet casings. Bullet casings in 0G just seems like a terrible idea. Next thing you know, you get done firing, and there's a cloud of casings floating
It does.
next to you.
It does.
Rendering is something like that.
There's plenty of bad ideas in happening at that time. No, it's a good point, but it's just cool. That's probably why it's there.
Cool. So you talked about an industry section of this game. I guess some people are playing alpha. I've not touched this game at all. So what's that like? Is it like a Warframe style where you're collecting material throughout matches and you're building upgrades, or?
So it's not fully fleshed out at all, but we want to support it. Like no game like this can survive without player crafting or some kind of manufacturing or that's, to us, there's like an acquisition method of these rare or better equipment needs to be interesting. It can't just be drops. Like it needs to be some kind of a loot, materials, combination, something along those lines, and that creates an incentive to trade on both the materials and the finished goods.
So you won't be raiding to get a perk or gold weapon. You'll be doing these missions or doing this stuff over to try and gather loot to build the optimal.
More like Fortnite, I would say. Like in that sense, like some raw material gathering is something that we're interested in. We have loads of like Eve-like things that we can just tap into.
Warframe has a really cool crafting. Like there's all the base material. You get that stuff constantly, and then you collect a rare material every once in a while and build something good.
Yep. Warframe is obviously Warframe came out very similar time as Dust, so they're kind of like born out of the same zeitgeist, really. They went PvE, fantasy PvE, and we went future PvP, kind of. And they were on the PC platform, point that out. And I honestly think that Dust would still be alive and well if it was on PC. It would be a different game. We could have gone different ways, but that's the situation. I think that explains why Warframe existed in the first place. It's just the exact same thing. Just have a tiny niche built on top of it. Yes.
Will the Iwakari community will get like information or like skin in Nova at all, or it will be just okay? What was the question? I'm part of the community of Spark, Iwakari, Bakari, and that's best.
Yes. We haven't kind of started bothering Eve players with any kind of cross promotions or anything else, but I think that's an obvious thing to go into, like whether it's through the account system in Eve or something. Like I don't want to make any promises, but it seems like it's fairly easy to provide an offer in secure, like where you log in your account management system. I'll talk to Aaron about that. Please be working. Yes.
All right, so 2 questions in one. Will there be spectator tournament tools, and can you stream and record the alpha?
So we've asked for spectator tools. I think they're fairly easy to do in Unreal 4. Camera. That's something we want to do, yes. Stream the alpha. We haven't written the full rule set of what we want people to do. I think it's not going to be an NDA situation, but I think we're going to ask people not to do it, and see if that's respected.
Not to do it, or you're not going to want to support like Twitch integration with Twine?
I think for the pre-alpha stage, I don't want it. I prefer it. Like it is pre-alpha, and I think it. I know that lawbreakers, for example, blame their pre-alpha for their misfortune, and blame loads of other things, but that's one of the reasons they say people got the wrong impression of the game in pre-alpha. Judge it on that. Yeah, newcomer.
Yes. Well, touching on that, we talked a little bit in the social media roundtable about
ebook potentially, like an in-game kind of social media with like announcements from Capsuleers going regionally, galactically, and smaller scale. So that might touch in on that a little bit, as far as like being able to communicate events that are happening in Nova with Eve in an integrated system. And the reason we talk about that is because right now, like a lot of people are on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter, while we're on Twitch, Discord, and other social media apps, and having a way to have Eve integrate with its own social media with the new games that are connecting one game, one universe.
It certainly fits, but I'm going to let Eve solve that problem for me. I'm just going to let Eve fix it, like figure it out, and then we'll adopt it.
Right.
Yes.
I guess this is probably still a long ways out, if you know specifically, but do you know what languages you're going to ship the game in? Is it going to be an international release, or North America first and then international, or how's?
We want to localize in the future. That's the answer that I have.
Whichever team, though, that you hire for doing that for the translation, I know there's a lot of people have had issues with the e-client itself, that there's might be some misspelled words in certain languages for just the basic UI and stuff. Could that team work on like both sides? I mean, you could be killing two stones with one bird with this.
We definitely use the same outsourcing company for sure. I think it's Pull to Win. I think do at least our localization QA. I don't know who translates the, but that's someone. We definitely use the same partners.
Now you mentioned resources and the fact of 1 + 1 being 3. For the Nova to impact the Eve universe, has there already been roadmapped resources that we would be able to pull usable within Eve universe from Nova, like those skins or editable objects here?
No, it's just a theoretical at the moment. But we've discussed these theoreticals with Eve, so it's not that, which was in some cases in Dust. It was very much, let's do that to Eve, and there wasn't a conversation really.
The secondary then would be: are there any ties yet to corporations, alliances, or coalitions in the Eve universe yet?
No, and same with chat. We're not going to go into the Eve chat. We'd be on a. If you imagine you'd have a corporation in Nova and a corporation in Eve, they'd have their own corporation chat in their games, but the alliance chat, theoretically, connecting them would be the third entity where you'd chat. We don't want to connect them to in any way or form in real time these games. Just having the same chat meant that we were on the same downtimes as Eve. If Eve went down, Dust went down. That's something we just don't want to do. Also super complicated and logistics just for patching and all these things. So we're one of the biggest lessons that I didn't mention here was how integrated the games were. They were almost, instead of being symbiotic, they were something worse.
Siamese twins?
Siamese twins, that's a great example. I was going to say cancer.
Have an instance that was similar in the other game to account for it. You're saying every object in one game had to have a way to account for it in the other game.
Yeah.
Mentioning corporations, have you considered having some sort of permission process or something in place to prevent me from making an endemic vision, so that you'd be able to maybe contact on the Eve side, make sure you don't have name cuts and whatnot?
Wow, it's a
It's a thing. Do it.
It's open. It's yours.
Right. Just
game mechanic.
Can we call dibs on names, corporation names between the games? I want to, but every time I thought about how to do it, it becomes incredibly painful, and I'm honestly I don't have the answer for that. Yes.
So the name reservation period is ending on the 28th.
Yes.
There's a purge that's scheduled to happen after that. Is there, I don't know if the team's aware, but if Dust players are in director and CEO positions of corps that merged with Eve, what happens there if those characters are purged on the Dust side?
They're purged from the Nova account system.
Oh, okay. But they're still in.
But theoretically, you could have the same name if you just join and no one took it. We're just saying they're not they're open. They're open for other people to take when the game starts. But this is a new account database. We're not deleting the other ones. We're just saying, here's everyone. These are the ones that took their names. Keep them. Wipe everything else. And now we can just create new characters. So we just have to do it at some point because the more we wait, we basically we're gonna have to do it once before we go live. Like, there's no way to keep doing this while we're running the game.
Right. To confirm those Dust names aren't being freed up in the Eve side.
They're not being freed up in the East side at all. They might be, like, for sure. And if they, I would assume that Eve would search for, are they a director or CEO role? Like, do they have anything? Are they safe to delete? I'm assuming that they have some kind of a name deletion scheme. So I think that would be fair game to destroy them at the same time. Yeah. I know that Eve wants the namespace. Yes, back.
I know that Eve has a non-imitation policy. You can't imitate somebody, so that could be something you could extend to Dust to prevent those kinds of problems. Basically, you can't make a name similar to someone else or a corporation or an alliance and say I'm these people. That'll not be.
Oh, really? Okay.
So it's something you can adapt for Dust pretty easily.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks for that.
So is there any time? Do you guys have any official timelines? Or I know we were told November. I was wondering, we're gonna get a sneak at some timelines, or is that gonna come out real soon? Or
so the alpha is a true alpha. It's not a fake marketing alpha. So no, it's just gonna we're gonna use it to. It's not gonna be a fun alpha necessarily for everyone. It's more. Can you log in? Can everyone from New Zealand log in tomorrow? Like that kind of stuff. So we're going to be treating it properly, trying to get more feedback, balancing, etc. on that stuff. I think we're going to try to do kind of weekend events where we focus fire on an issue. Let's say, okay, now everyone just can play hard with the Sentinel. Like everyone's just trying to figure out, is that something that needs to get fixed, or is there the right difficulty? And then it might be PvP only with snipers. Just trying to edge case, investigate stuff. So it is a alpha. So I really appreciate it if people bother to do it, actually. Yes?
Will there be a forum rollout for the alpha?
Yes. It's going to be a discourse just like the forums.
Oh, okay. Cool.
All right.
One last long-term question. Are any other pirate factions or enemy factions or maybe on the table? I guess the Baristas and Serpentis are all kind of normal, but the Blood Raiders would be another kind of horrifying issue going for that with the
We're really trying to avoid humans, the PvP element, so it doesn't. So I think all of the pirate factions, even Blood Raiders, are still humans in that sense. They're not. You could theoretically do some kind of a surgical monster or abomination type of creature. I think we are just going to stick to this race for a while. It takes actually an enormous amount of resources to make the art direction animation style for a race. It's not something we can churn out, right? That's a Blizzard type of production.
So the rogue drones that we saw in the original Ghost trailers are probably going to be something in the front future, maybe.
So rogue drones are actually I really like them, and they exist, and we use them in prototypes a lot in the last 2 years. The models themselves. I think that is I think an infested rogue drone could become something, for example, or a Sancha converted type of kind of thing. So I think we can really, like, because Sansa are very malleable in that sense. They
more organic than mechanical, rather.
Yeah, but they have this. We can't really do anything with them because they've gone outside like society's boundaries. On I checked this with Nick. I don't know his CCP name. Head lore writer. He said they're like, we were looking at all these, like, what's the best race to use, I wanted to do Sansa because they were kind of like they fit the gothic horror vibe that we were after. But and he said they'll do anything. They'll take a brain out of a person and put it in a box, and they'll skin humans alive to do, like, they'll do anything for the sake of their race. So we are pretty much have completely open field on what to do, and we've taken advantage. We've made like these big monsters, like way bigger than humans, and drone and all these things. So I think we have the creative freedom within Sansa to do all these things. And we got permission. I checked, like, how crazy are they? Like, are they just normal crazy, or are they like out there crazy? They were proper crazy. Yeah. Yes.
One thing that really attracted me to Dust was the idea of persistence of things that I achieved, and like the cool thing of having your name inscribed on the Eve monument is pretty neat.
Yep.
I guess I think I just want to give this as feedback. That would be a really cool idea. Just for people like me that like the satisfaction of something, of the hundreds of hours I put into a game being.
There's your first link. More than just the first person shooter.
Yeah.
You hop on.
Just something that lasts.
No, there's like I've discussed, like, this is on the plan to like an in-game monument to all Dust players, for example, is one. Easy in that sense. It's an object. It's just where to find it or hide it or put it into the game. That's definitely.
Put it in your corporate hangar.
Now, is there any possibility, I don't know if you guys even have access to or be able to bring it in, is actually having the Keldar Prime map available just as like a sort of nod to Dust, is something that existed in Dust for a brief while before everything just fell apart. And not a lot of people got to appreciate the sight of half of a Titan sticking up in the air.
That's stolen by another sci-fi guy.
There's no way to pull it in directly. It's a completely different technology. I would not, since we can't do that, I wouldn't try to redo it. I'd just do something new. I think we have plenty of opportunity to do things like that. But that was truly monumental. That's one of my favorite things ever, was the Keldar Prime event.
In the line of monuments, is there going to be any kind of recognition for the valiant Dust drop warriors who have died in the line of service, along with the platform?
Memorial.
Like a PlayStation 3 outside of CCP games. No.
That would work. Just something, because a lot of us put a lot of time and a lot of heart and soul into it, and we all love that you're bringing it back with Nova.
Yeah, and it's my favorite game. I miss it every day. It's really, like, it is the best game I played. So that's why I'm still carrying this banner. Like it's really that, because I had a kind of, we had kickoff, which is basically like an annual event for CCP where we kind of share what we're doing, and we have these speeches and stuff. I told everyone about, like, my story, how it all happened, Shanghai and Dust and me being a player, and people, because like I've been 12 years at CCP, and people, like, there's a lot of new people that don't know the history of Dust or anything else, and I was trying to explain how the same feelings in Eve were experienced in Dust, like this kind of camaraderie and like the persistence and all that. Like, that's why I bought into it, was exactly that, because it would be the game forever without resets, and then it wasn't suddenly. And that's kind of something that I really wanted to bring back. All right, we're over time even. All right, thank you very much.